The call came on a rainy Thursday in February, one of those evenings when the house smells of reheated soup and wet wool. I was sitting by the window, the old lamp humming softly beside me, when my phone lit up with my son's name, Brandon. He rarely called unless there was trouble, and when he started with, "Dad, I wouldn't ask if it weren't serious," I knew exactly how the night would end. His voice trembled just enough to sound sincere. "Marissa hired some big-shot lawyer," he said. "She's asking for everything. The condo, the car, half my savings. I don't even know where to start." I'd met Marissa twice. Once at their engagement party. She'd worn a red dress and looked straight through me when I congratulated them. And once at Thanksgiving, when she told Brandon he shouldn't eat dessert at his age. I'd known then that the marriage wouldn't last, but I kept my mouth shut. Parents always do. "How much are we talking?" I asked, though my stomach already knew it would hurt. "Not much," he said quickly. "Maybe 50, 60,000, tops. It's just to cover the lawyer and settle things cleanly." I glanced at my checkbook on the table. The savings account I'd been stretching for years, ever since my retirement from the post office. I'd planned to fix the roof this spring, maybe replace the old Ford before it finally died. Instead, I said, "All right, I'll help." He exhaled, that relieved sound people make when they know they won. A week later, I wired him $58,000, every cent I had from the retirement lump sum. He promised to repay me within a year. "Once I'm back on my feet, Dad, you'll see. This is just a rough patch." Rough patch. That phrase has a way of sticking in your teeth. I'd heard it before, when he borrowed money for his first apartment, when he needed a down payment for a car to impress clients, when he maxed out his credit card buying Marissa a diamond bracelet to fix things. Every rough patch ended the same way. I paid for the stitches. He tore the fabric again. Months passed. He stopped calling after the divorce was finalized. The roof stayed leaky. The Ford kept groaning in first gear. My dinners became simpler, soup, crackers, sometimes a fried egg on toast if I felt fancy. Still, I told myself it was worth it. He was my son. He needed a chance to start fresh. Then one day in July, I opened the local news app and saw it. A photo of Brandon in a crisp suit, arm around a blonde woman in a white dress. Headline: Tech consultant Brandon Latham announces engagement to interior designer Julia Hayes. I stared at it for a long time. No call, no visit, not even a text. Just another wedding I'd be the last to know about. He finally called in September. "Hey, Dad." His voice was bright, careless, rehearsed. "You probably heard Julia and I are getting married next month. Big celebration. You know, small but classy. The venue's gorgeous." "That's nice," I said. "I didn't know you were seeing anyone." He laughed. "Yeah. Well, it happened fast. Julia's incredible. Totally different from Marissa. She's got connections in real estate, big clients. You'd love her." I didn't answer. He cleared his throat. "Listen, about the wedding, it's going to be pretty exclusive. Just close friends, colleagues, people in the industry. We're keeping it intimate." I smiled bitterly at the word. Intimate. That corporate euphemism for "you're not invited." So, I asked, should I book a flight? There was a pause. Then the tone changed, careful, polite distancing. "Dad, it's not that I don't want you there, but Julia's family is, upscale. It's going to be a very specific crowd. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable." "I see," I said. My voice stayed calm. "Uncomfortable. I mean, you know how it is, the seating, the cost per guest, the atmosphere. It's not exactly, not the kind of thing you're used to." He might as well have said, "not for your kind." I swallowed hard. "Don't worry. I wouldn't want to bring down the average net worth." He laughed awkwardly. "Come on, Dad, don't take it that way." "I'm not taking it any way," I said quietly. "Just surprised. That's all." "Well, we'll send pictures," he said too brightly. You'll see it'll be beautiful. I hung up before he finished the sentence. That night, I opened my old folder. Bank transfers, emails, receipts. Every payment I'd made on his behalf since he was 21. College tuition, apartment deposits, the $58,000 divorce transfer, and on the top, the registration of his Audi A5 purchased under my name to save on insurance. The car he bragged about in photos, the one he took Julia to Japan, the one he told people he bought with his bonus. I looked at the registration, then at the notice from the DMV. My name was still there, all mine. I leaned back in a chair, listening to the rain tapping against the window again. Just like that night in February, he thought I was too poor for his wedding. He was about to learn what real poverty felt like. The invitation arrived 2 days before the ceremony. Not through the mail, of course, through a forwarded email from my sister, who'd seen it on social media. The caption read, "Surrounded by love, success, and new beginnings. Hashtag Latham Wedding, hashtag Power Couple." There were photos, Julia in a designer gown, Brandon in a white tuxedo, champagne glasses raised against the skyline of some vineyard resort. Every frame screamed money and pretense. I scrolled through them slowly, my reflection flickering in the screen. The smile he wore wasn't the one I remembered. It wasn't real. It was performed. The grin of a man who had learned that charm is cheaper than character. At the bottom of one picture, I saw something that made me laugh aloud. The caption said, "Thanks to my father for teaching me perseverance." Perseverance. That's what he called using me like a wallet. The next morning, I called the insurance company, then the dealership, then my credit union. By noon, I had a new savings account open, under my name only, and an official statement confirming that the Audi A5 was legally registered to me, that Brandon's loan payments had been months behind. That was all the leverage I needed. The young clerk at the bank, polite and nervous, asked, "Are you sure you want to repossess the vehicle, sir? It may cause family tension." I smiled thinly. "Son, the tension's already there. I'm just cutting the rope before it strangles me." She didn't argue. That evening, while the happy couple toasted under strings of fairy lights and photographers snapped candid smiles, a flatbed tow truck rolled quietly up the driveway of their rented villa in Sonoma. Driver name Miguel. Pickup authorization. Signed by me. He texted a photo when the car was secured on the truck bed. The caption, "Done." The reflection of the resort lights shimmered on the Audi's metallic paint. It looked like a metaphor. Expensive, useless, empty. I leaned back in my chair, watching the phone glow. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt clean. 2 days later, Brandon called. He didn't say, "Hello, Dad, where the hell is my car?" I stirred my coffee. "Which car?" "Don't play dumb." "The Audi. It's gone. The valet said some tow guy took it, said it was authorized by you." "Well, that makes sense," I said. "It's mine." "What are you talking about?" "You gave it to me." "No, Brendan. I bought it for you to use, not to own. The title's in my name. Always has been." He went quiet. Then his voice dropped to that low, trembling anger of a man who's losing control. "You can't just take my car." "I didn't take it. I sold it." "You what?" "I sold it back to the dealership," I said calmly. "Got $27,000 for it. Used the money to cover the taxes on the account you drained last year, and the remaining legal fees you forgot to pay. Consider us square." He was breathing heavily now. "You've lost your mind. You embarrass me, Dad. Do you know who saw that tow truck? Julia's friends were at brunch." I interrupted. "Brandon, let me stop you there. The last time you spoke to me, you said your wedding wasn't for people like me. So I stayed away. Consider this my RSVP." He started shouting then, half words, sputtering with entitlement and panic. You don't understand how things work in my world. Oh, I understand, I said quietly. You built a world where everything's yours until someone says no. Well, here it is, son. No. I hung up. The next day, I drove to the dealership to finalize the sale. The manager, a man about my age, shook my hand after handing me the check. Always nice to see a father helping his kid get started, he said with a grin. I chuckled. This time I'm helping him finish. On the way home, I stopped at the grocery store, bought steak, red potatoes, and a small bottle of bourbon. That night, I cooked a real dinner. First one in months. Ate it at the kitchen table with the radio humming old jazz in the background. When I finished, I poured myself a drink and wrote a letter. Brandon, you once told me that success means never depending on anyone. I hope you're right, because you're on your own now. You may think I did this to hurt you. I didn't. I did it to remind you that respect, like credit, runs out when abused. Take care, Dad. I sealed it and set it by the door. I didn't need to send it. He'd understand the message without words. The following week, my sister called. She said the wedding photos were all over social media. Beautiful, glamorous, but with one odd comment beneath them, written by Julia herself. Funny how everything looks perfect until the bills arrive. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. Instead, I went out to the porch, the evening light soft on the horizon. The air smelled of rain again, the same rain from that February night when he'd first called for help. This time, I didn't reach for the phone. I just sat there, listening to the quiet hum of a world where for once nobody needed saving, least of all me. The summer faded slow that year. By September, the cicadas were quiet, and the evening started to smell of cut grass and cooling metal. I'd gotten used to silence, the kind that used to hurt, but now just felt earned. I was out on the porch again, sanding the railings, when the mail truck stopped at the curb. The driver, a young woman with freckles and a coffee thermos, waved. Morning, Mr. Latham. Got something certified for you. Who's it from? I asked. She glanced at the label. A law firm. Emerson and Crow. I smiled slightly. That'll be my son. Inside, I slit open the envelope with my old pocket knife. The letter was short, printed, and signed at the bottom. It read, Dear Mr. Latham, we represent Mr. Brandon Latham in a matter concerning the repossession and sale of the Audi A5 vehicle previously in his possession. Mr. Latham disputes your right to liquidate the asset without his consent and requests compensation for damages incurred. Should this issue remain unresolved, our client intends to pursue legal action. I read it twice and placed it beside my coffee mug. The irony almost made me laugh. On the back of the letter, I scribbled a single note in pen. The vehicle was legally mine. The debt was legally his. Case closed. I folded it, tucked it into an envelope, and dropped it in the outgoing mail on my next walk. A week later, a smaller letter arrived. Handwritten this time. No law firm header. Just Brandon. Dad, forget the lawyers. Julia left. She said, I'm always chasing money I didn't earn. Maybe she's right. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I shouldn't have said what I said about the wedding. You deserve better. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to say thank you for everything you did, even the part that hurt. I'm starting over. Wish me luck. B. I sat there for a long time, staring at the slant of his handwriting, so much like mine used to be when I was his age, before the tremor in my fingers set in. The paper smelled faintly of cologne and something else. Exhaustion, maybe. Outside, a pickup truck rumbled past, country radio blaring. I thought of him out there somewhere. Broke, but maybe finally honest. I folded the letter neatly and slipped it between the pages of my old checkbook, the one I'd stopped using. Then I poured myself a small bourbon and stepped out onto the porch again. The wind had changed. The air carried that early hint of winter. And for the first time in years, I didn't worry about anyone's bills but my own. I raised the glass slightly, as if to the empty road. "Good luck, son," I said softly. "You're going to need it." Then I drank to peace, not the kind you buy, but the kind you keep.